Hey, it's all about the Analog Kitchen Dawless music production Q&A. Your questions, I will answer them. Are you ready? Let's go do it. Hey, what's up? I'm Analog Kitchen and thank you for checking out yet another video. Now, if this is your first time here, don't hesitate to click subscribe, hit that notification bell, because whenever I upload a new video, you'll be kept in the loop and you will not miss out on anything. Hang around till the end of this video. I'll tell you all about this Discord, Patreon. I'll tell you all about the Mixer project, and I will tell you all about the Kitchen Club. It was absolutely amazing. More stuff is coming. Check it out. If I like the music, if it turns out well, I'll stick it on Bandcamp. I mean, I have not uploaded some stuff there recently, but I will, because there's some tracks that I have not released that are fit to go on Bandcamp. The tracks you hear me do on the videos most of the time are tracks that are not finished yet, so I will have to finalize them, and they might end up on my album. So I'm not sticking on my album, but they might end up on Bandcamp as well. Go do and check that out. So it's all about your questions today. That's what it's all about today. I've not done a video like this before, which is weird, because I thought I could have done one before, but it so turns out that it never happened before. So yeah, let's start and see what we have. Okay, so first question comes from Damien Webb. He says, is it possible to be more fluid with your live set? And that means not plan the order of the track sequences ahead of the gig. Yes, you can, but I like to do it more in a hybrid kind of way. So if I've got certain things already produced, or people expect something from me, which is what happens if you release records, you would make certain things you would love for your sound to be a little bit more predictable, maybe, or at least have some recognition of the tracks that are being released with what you do live. It's very easy to migrate away from the demo that you have or the track that you are doing, because when you're doing a live set, you know that sometimes it goes very crazy, up and down, all over the place, and you can end up in a completely different place as where you started from. Now, I would love for my live set to be hands-on. I'd love to improvise a lot, but at the same time, I do need a few things that are set in stone. So obviously, if I'm using a kick drum on my record, I will probably use that same kick drum, and it so happens that certain things are being sequenced and I leave room for improv. So on my MPC, I would probably have if I'm using 4 sequences for one track, the first one is the intro. That's basically the theme that I can mute or open up with a kick drum that I can mute or open up. The second one is adding my bass line or lines that I can open up as well. And then there's a stereo output for the octave track where all the drums are, so kicks separately, drums on a stereo for the octave track, and then on the MPC it's mostly the music coming out, and if I'm using a separate snare drum, that's also coming out of one track. And then I would leave the last sequence, so the last pattern on the MPC, I'll leave that blank. The beats will be playing, but the sequences where the music is, I'll leave that spaced out, so I don't have to look and copy stuff over. So basically, the first 3 is where the music is, and then the 4th is when I can improvise. Helps with the transition as well. Okay, then there's another question by Mo Awanda. This is great and exactly what I'm looking for, only buttons. Do you have a video explaining this setup? Yeah, look on my channel and look for the workflow videos. There are workflow videos on how I get to where I am. So reckon you're new to the channel, go and check it out. There's ample videos on my workflow as well. Distant Comets, thank you for joining up on Patreon, by the way. Have you tried the Erica Synths Ninja Tune Zen Delay? It sounds amazing and has a lovely filter and drive section. Now, a little bit of explanation. A few weeks ago, I was asking people what would be a good delay pedal. I'm in the market for one, but as it so turns out, I found my Boss DD7, which is absolutely a superstar. It's a classic. I found it back. It was somewhere in the studio and I couldn't find it. I was thinking, do I need another one? Yes, of course, gas. And we always want more gear, right? So, but I found that. So in conjunction to my Blue Sky Strymon, I now have delay. So I'm working out how that pairs up. But keep those suggestions coming, guys. I mean, obviously, a setup like mine is very hybrid in what it can be or what I want it to be or how I feel. I basically just play it by ear. There's a lot of stuff that comes all the time, which is the Octatrack Mark II. in this case, the MPC, then there's a subsequent 37, then there's a OB6, there's a Minitar. I'm bringing the multi-clock, but at the same time, pedals, not so sure. Sometimes you bring Hall of Fame, sometimes you bring, you know what I mean, that's how it goes. Andrew Ingpen is saying that clipping cable on a Minitar is amazing. Are they commercially available? At the moment, I don't think that they are. Kink and respectively Kink's engineer, Konstantin, have made that cable for me. It was at the Arc Cruise. It was a big party back a few years ago. I was there with everyone. Oliver White was there. Stefan Botsin was there. I mean, we were there with a lot of people. Hendrik Swartz was there on that same boat, so it was really cool. And then Kink was there playing, and also Konstantin, his engineer. And he said, like, I'm going to send you a present. And that was that cable. It is a, I've got it right here. See? It is a very simple concept. Pretty much this is how he's made it. So in this little booger, this red booger, is a diode of which he doesn't want to review which one it is. I'm thinking it's a Zener diode. And this I have got connected to my Minitar. Now, I will explain why for the people that don't know. My Minitar is a very, very nice big bass heavy machine, but I'm playing it next to the subsequent 37. I have to admit, you have to fight to get both of them to work together. But if you would introduce some diode clipping or a little bit of bit crush distortion on either one of the synthesizers, I prefer to go with a Minitar because the oscillators do a different thing, I think. So what I would do is on the filter, now if the filter is on say 7 o'clock, yeah, 7 o'clock, my 7 o'clock. If the filter is on 7 o'clock all the way up to 12, it would mean that it's all nice and smooth and still the characteristic of the Minitar. Now, as soon as I'm going past 12 o'clock, it starts to introduce that grit, starts to introduce a little bit more of an aggression, and I really, really enjoy how it sounds, and it sets it apart from the subsequent 37. So both of them can play together. Family, living in the same house, not in the same room, and that's what you would want if you're not EQing or compressing your sound, which is what I'm not doing. I don't compress my sound. I just like to go in fairly straight. So that is that. Moving on. NSW 1973. Thanks for the question. Why did you go from an MPC Live to an MPC One? As you can see on recent videos, that's not the case anymore. I'm back on my MPC Live. I am working on this 3-tier tutorial thing that I'm doing for Bakshop, which is a shop here in Holland, and I wanted to condense my setup down a little bit more. So I thought, let's make a setup with an MPC One, because if you want to travel or if you don't have that much money to spend, that might be your option. TB says, Lucien, any plans on getting the RE202 to replace the RE20? The 202 sounds incredible. Not saying the 20 doesn't, but still. I'm not sure. Stop giving me gas. You know what I mean? Stop it. I'm not sure. Let's see what happens. Great stuff and info, says Dawless, I guess. What is providing the snare roll on the second channel? Rewind. On the second channel, my snare roll is coming from the MPC, as I said. Quickly, so my setup, 2 main brains, not 1 main brain, 2 main brains in the setup. First, the Octatrack. On the Octatrack, I'm using 3 outputs, 1 stereo output and then 1 separate one coming out of the Q output for the kick. I always want my kick separately. And if I'm working my live set, I'm going from left to right. So left is the kick, left is the most simple stuff, is always on the left side, and I will work my way up to the right and make it more interesting. So more drums will go on the Octatrack, and the stereo output goes on the mixer as well. And then I've got on my little mixer, which is a DM12 at the minute, I've got track 1 is the kick, so I can always wield the kick if I wanted to. Jason Searle says, yo, as always, thanks for making my day better. An easy question. The intro tune, I love it. Where can I get it? The bass modulation is a killer. That's a track that you can find on Bandcamp. Look for a track called Desire Lanes, by the way. Harold Turlings says, what is your name? You never introduce yourself. You are a real inspirator. Thank you, Harold. I really would like to know who you are. I'm a techno lover and dancer. If your explanations and you really inspired me and my kids to set up an old vintage studio. Vintage and old. Sounds good. Greetings, Harold. Well, Harold, I'm Analog Kitchen, but you might know me under my name, Lucien Ford. I've been around in this game for a long time. I've did tracks like Funk Function, Dutch Liquid, and even way back Quadrophonia. So I was very much involved in the beginning of the rave/gabba scene in the early 90s. I am that old, yes. So, and after a while, I thought, why not do something else? Why not come up with something different? And I was thinking, I was a little bit chicken when I was starting out in the early 90s. I had like gang around me. Like I saw Chemical Brothers, I saw Quasar, I saw these cats hauling their studio around. And I was like, I'm not doing that. You know, I was happy enough just walking around with my records. I was happy enough as it is. Not that I didn't aspire to it, but I was just too chicken shit that stuff broke down. So fast forward some maybe 30 years now, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Hey, Novation. They're bringing out these form factor synths. Moog, they're bringing out these form factor synths. Akai, they're bringing out Roland. I was like, okay, wait a minute, that's enough. I know this stuff. This is where I come from. Let's see if I can make a band. Let's come up with a name that is not like you and you alone. Analog Kitchen can be literally anything. It can be me, can be multiple people. It can be, everybody knows a kitchen, right? I mean, the best conversations are held in the kitchen. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'm trying to make my best music. That should be the Analog Kitchen sort of like routine. So that's how I came up with the name. By that time, my hair was already fading into the darkness. So I shaved everything off and I went like, you know what? Let's go get it. And that's how I did it. Will you have a Kickstarter for the mixer? Not at this moment. Christian Vossen and myself, we are, and more patrons actually, we are contemplating on what it is that we want. If this is the first video you ever see of me, I'm trying to come up with a mixer catered to Dawless producers. I do believe that there is a gap in the market because any mixer that is around is either a DJ mixer. Now, DJ mixers got different curves, especially with most of the DJs that love the red. They love the red. You know, I have seen VU meters that don't move. I thought they were literally taped on there, but oh, lo and behold, the level's been exaggerated to the point. Now, this happens because most of the DJs, they don't really know how to handle the sound. That's for one. But also, they just exaggerate like MP3s that they play with. Now, when you're starting to bring analog gear to the stage, and I'm talking about if you bring in an octa track that a lot of people might debate doesn't sound that great, I think it absolutely sounds amazing for dance music. But let's talk about, you know, the elephants in the room, the OB6, the subsequent 37, and the Minitar. You're talking about big ass, you know what I mean? That you're talking about synths. Now, most DJ mixers cannot handle that kind of, you know, warfare. But then again, you don't want to be bringing a studio mixer as well. I mean, the best thing that you could bring is anything in the high-end audio range. But at the same time, again, you know, so I'm thinking, can I make a smaller form factor mixer that's got the DJ appeal? Because I do my live set much like a DJ would play it. And have that studio sort of like tactile, hands-on-ness, you know what I mean? Have inserts, have send returns, a nice filtered EQ, not just a 2, 3 or 4 band EQ, just a filter that you can dial in whatever you want. Have mono stereo switching, have a multi-clock on board, stuff that's a no-brainer to me. You know, if you got 6 pieces of equipment that you would like to use and you're not using a daisy chain to make it work, why not? Because that's a problem at the moment. You have to make different sequences on different machines, but then you have to make them play together, and that's a different story. Anyone trying to transition into a different pattern knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm thinking, have 6 to 8 channels maybe on the mixer with start and stop for your MIDI clock, and then start your different machines. The only thing you now need to worry about is it in tune, yes or no, or not even, depends on where you want to go. Stay tuned and watch this space. Nice question by Gerald Scott. Melodic Acido, sounding awesome. What happened to the MPC Live? Well, it's here. It's here. David Allred, he says, nice stuff, man. We play a similar setup, but with different synths. I had an MPC as the brain, but recently switched out for the Force after the update. I subscribed. How do you like the Sub 37? I was thinking about adding either that or a Take 5. Love the name of your channel. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing. David, the Sub 37 is a modern classic. You have to understand it's a modern classic. Yes, I do know about the workflow, but at the same time, and I'm all about originality, but at the end of the day, I'm also all about that you need to just come up with something that the marketplace demands a little bit. So the sounds I'm hearing on most records now is, a lot of it is subsequent or Sub 37 sound design, which is what I love. I'm making melodic techno, I'm trying to make techno, and you just want to have a tactile synth that is now, but has also got like its strength from way back when. That's why I'm using the Sub 37. When is the mixer coming out? Well, that's a question by Milo Fuzz. At the moment, we're trying to get our bearings again because with COVID, and everyone can tell you that there is a shortage in parts. There's absolutely a shortage in almost everything. So when is the mixer coming out? I hope sooner than later. I've been working on it a lot, but I don't want to rush it. Did you happen to check the Typhon for noise? Is a question coming from William Wallace. He says the headphones only with USB power from the power bank. Any noise? I think you will be disappointed. I hope I'm wrong. Well, the problem with the Typhon is that you have to stick it on its own power supply. It's cool to just stick it on a USB. I had it on a hub, but on the hub was the same hub was feeding all my other instruments USB MIDI. Side question, what do you prefer, 5-pin DIN or USB MIDI? Leave a comment in the section below. I switched the Typhon to just its own sort of like plug and plugged it away from anything to do with my USB, and the problem pretty much was sorted. It was quiet as quiet as midnight, really. I see this is Dinram saying, interesting to see your concept and workflow of the upgo track, but why don't you use the track's decay envelope on the hi-hat? Thanks for that. I should have done it, and I'm doing it right now, so that was an absolutely great tip. Sometimes you just make it too complicated, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you have to understand that certain envelope decays, it's not always the same. They don't always have the same curve. I was just like, making sure that the sample was as long as it was, but it's a cool thing, and I'm using that. I'm using it now. Is that a Huge Tunes record behind you? This is coming from Dawless house music. Absolutely not. I think you referred to this one. This is Yoshitoshi, and for the people that know Yoshitoshi, it's by Deep Dish. That was a Deep Dish label. So that if that was the record you were talking about, then that's the one. Thanks for the question, Dawless house music. Fats Audio Visual has a question on the Subsequent 37. On most of my videos, he sees me using that and he's asking, thanks for sharing, great video. Thank you for watching. Are you looping the Sub 37 in the MPC Live? Also, would love a video on bassline theory and programming. Really? Go check out my channel. Basslines is my thing. There's so many videos on basslines, but you can never have too many, so I'll think on that. You have these awesome pedals on the TB03 and I would like to learn more about the thoughts and intent behind them. Thanks for all you do. Thank you for watching once more. Okay, no, I'm not looping the 37 in the MPC. My setup is fairly simple. Think of a band. Think of band members. Think of just the Octatrack being the drummer, and then the Kai, the MPC being the conductor. So pretty much you got your percussion setup. That's where the beats are coming from, because I did a show yesterday at Honkering Festival. Absolutely amazing. However, nobody Nobody knew that at some point I was using the same drum bank for about 20 minutes. I just swapped out the music on top of it. And when you mute stuff and delete stuff or stick sample and hold bits in it, sample and hold bits, shameless self-plug, then obviously you can make it sound like more is happening than there's absolutely happening. So yeah, so what I'm doing is the subsequent is coming from the Akai MPC Live. That's my conductor. It collects all the MIDI information of the Minotaur, of the OB6 and of the subsequent 37, as I said. And please don't slag me, it has got absolutely amazing plugins. On my Discord, we have a confession corner. I'll be heading over there and saying that. But the sounds on the Akai, there's a hype synth, there's a Solina, and then there's a lot of plugins. I don't use it extensively with the synths that I have, but sometimes when you need a piano, quick, fast, you don't want to sacrifice one of your list synths for that. So it's cool. Cecil says, I like your hands-on approach. Question, how do you check the kick is translating well to a huge sound system / club environment? Oh, great question, Cecil. To me, it's an experience thing. I mean, as you can see, not all records that you see here, they're all mixed differently, and they did all relate differently to a club sound system. So that experience is what I take with me, as well as the trick that I would give you is to stand on a stage behind the speakers. Most of how I determine how sound is behind the speakers. I don't get out there in front of the room most of the time to determine what it sounds like. So I have some sort of a feel on how much push a kick needs to have, how long it needs to sustain for. On my Patreon page, the kick that I'm using on most of my tracks, it's there. So, enlist the Patreon and you can find the kick that I'm using there and just like have a ballpark figure or where you can go with that. Lucas is asking me on my sound packs. Amazing video, really nice channel. Keep going. I will not stop. Thank you for watching it. Which pack has the nicest and beefy kicks? I never had a nice, balanced and good sounding kick. I was hoping for a sample one would do the trick. I'm going to support you by buying a pack. I'm more into modular. Part of my rig is based around random triggers, samples and filtering, so it would be cool. It has your signature in my tracks. Keep the vibe, man. Always brings me up, even in a bad day. That's what we like to hear. Yeah! All right, let's keep it going. It's all about positive vibes up in here. Analog Kitchen, you know what I'm saying? Well, absolutely. What I would do is stick a few kicks on my on my Patreon. I will do it in the lowest tier. So the lowest tier is only about $1. You won't be breaking it back. I won't even be able to get a coffee for that money. What is saying? But I'm gonna stick 3 kicks on there, so for a limited amount of time, so you can get a few kicks and just see how they work. I've got ample kicks, so I really don't care. I really don't care. You can have them. You know what I mean? Use them. Because it seems to be a problem. A lot of people go like, oh my God. The translation between what you hear on your headphone and you hear in the club, that's something that if you don't play out, it's very hard to just like get that information going. I understand it. So I will stick a few kicks that you have to trust me. You have to trust me that they will work, and then just work it from there. That's what's happening. That's a huge MPC Live in the on the top there. That's Death Knob. Where do you acquire such a beast of a unit? I love the tutorials. Melodic techno all day. Thanks for you, mate. Cheers. Okay. I just have to say, I edited the MPC Live, which is what I shoot from the top and then lift it up and stick it on the in the top corner. And Bikes, Beers and Beats is saying, do you have a preference to record your bass lines or program MIDI notes into the Octatrack? If I understand you well, you're trying to figure out what is the best way to get stuff on the Octatrack. I moved away from programming MIDI on the Octatrack. It's cool, but if you want to do extensive sort of like musical bits, you would have to just like sacrifice 2 MIDI channels maybe to get one thing going, and that was not ideal. I would like to just like play stuff. In my honest, humble opinion, Brian, stop it. In my humble, honest opinion, the MPC is the best sequencer out there to handle MIDI information. If you are a loop-based techno producer, I would never ever recommend a MPC Live to you. I would never say, you know what, get an MPC, because the MPC does different things. So I'm making more musically based stuff, and the sequences and the way they're spread out, that just does the trick for me. A question on my SH-101. What are the holes? The holes in the top. There are more holes here, but those are supposed to be here. Those are not. Well, the thing is, when I bought my SH-101, I had a modified one. I was so stupid to buy a modified SH-101, and my tech mate of mine, who's very savvy with getting stuff organized, he said like, I like your SH-101. I was like, yeah, I bought it on eBay. And he's like, okay, wicked, do you mind if I take it home? I said, you can take it home all you want, you know what I mean? But just return it back in one piece. And then he sent me a picture with the holes. Said, hey, what do you do? He says, the modifications on it were done so badly, I just had to take them out. So I restored it to its original base. I'll never ever do that stuff again without consulting me. So yeah, that's that story. So that's why they've got extra air conditioning holes on my Roland SH-101. On one of my earlier videos, this was a video on using the 303 for something other than acid house. I had a mirror in the frame. Jules Takahashi goes like, I love the mirror. What is it for? Well, the mirror is for watching myself usually, or I place the mirror so on my live set so you can see my face. But the latest videos, you don't see my face on the videos, you know. Ryan Loya says, okay, I love the channel. Thank you, Ryan, for watching. Question, I was given an MPC 2000 XL in working condition. Would it be worth using it in the same way as your MPC Live 2 in your setup? I don't use it for sampling or beats. I just want to use it to sequence live sets like yours. Is it more trouble than it's worth? Dude, somebody gave you that. Go and work it out. If it does work for you, it works for you. You know what I mean? And the other day, I would not say no to anything that's given to you, and it's a cool workflow. I do believe it's got 16-bit samples on it though, because the older MPCs do 24-bit sampling. There's a lot of stuff that it does differently, but there's a lot to say on that old school kind of workflow. So go and do check it out. And if you like it, you can always contemplate on, you know, do I need the newer MPCs? Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on it. The MIDI, absolutely amazing. It does a lot of stuff well, but you know, certain things can be done better. And I do believe that's because they've got this old concept, like what you're saying, Ryan. They've got the old concept, and then yeah, they just added a shell of new stuff over it, and they're trying to just like marry themselves into Ableton with all the clip launching stuff. And so, you know, I don't know, you know, so try the old one first, see if it works, and then borrow a new one and see what the comparison is. If you like it, go ahead and buy it. I guess that are the questions for today. Can you believe that's only a month's worth of questions? There's so many more questions. Let's do another video on questions if that's what you would want. You could just ask me everything. Maybe I could just open up a channel on my Discord and have it done there. And speaking of that, I would like to say welcome to Distant Comets and Julian Patrick Stockwell for enlisting on my Patreon page. Thank you. Welcome, and make sure you just head over to Discord, because that's where the magic happens. We all talk shop there, and it's all yeah, really amazing. This is a new sort of like form factor video. You only see me talking. I think there's a lot of stuff on the channel that I already have showed you. I wanted to just like get into certain questions because a lot of people have a lot of questions. Let me know if this is something that you like. It's just me babbling for a long time, but thanks anyway for being here. Yeah, if not anything else, I will catch you next week on another video. Hello Kitchen.